So much wine, so little time. All right, we've talked a lot now about opening the wine, pouring the wine, swirling the wine, tasting the wine, drinking the wine, describing the wine, even where to store your wine. Let's talk about how to get the wine now. Where do we go to buy wine? Here are some tips I've gleaned over the years from lots of different folks who shop lots of different ways about how to get wine into your house, into your cellar, into your belly. There's lots of different ways, and there's a true explosion of ways to purchase wine in today's world. As I've mentioned multiple times throughout this lecture series, we truly are in a revolutionary drinking age in America where so many more palates are turning to wine that to fulfill that demand, the supply of wine is outrageously awesome. This is a wine drinkers market. It's a wine buyers market right now. So many places to get it from. It's so much more affordable, so much more variety. Here are some tips for buying wine in stores, online, on tour, wherever the heck you are. In America now, you can find wine in a variety of ways. As has been stated multiple times throughout this entire series, build your local network first. Crucial! It is the most important thing. Hopefully you've already been doing this whole time. If you are at this point in this short course and you don't know your closest 5 wine stores yet, failure! You fail! Go back, start again, go find the local places that sell wine. And the thing is, and start building relationships with those folks at that store. But now let's define the stores I'm talking about, because the thing is, back to the thing, you can get wine pretty much anywhere in today's world. This was not the case 20 and 30 and 40 years ago, by the way. There would have been a smattering of specialty wine shops across America that only highbrow effete snobs would shop at. You just didn't see wine anywhere. Where can you get it now? Let's see. Every single grocery store, liquor store, Costco, Walmart, 7-Eleven, gas station, your local food stores, local Whole Foods, farmers market, local wineries. I mean, I don't think you can shake a stick anymore in America and not bump into somebody that's making or selling wine or distributing and or moving it to your vicinity. Again, it's a buyer's market. It's everywhere. But your best case scenario, and now we're going to start fine-tuning these places you can get wine. The best case scenario is still your local closest wine specialty store. I'm not even sure what that term means, but it's a, let me define it now. It's a store that specializes in alcoholic beverages that's not liquor. A lot of states still have liquor stores, and that's all they sell is liquor. Not that. It's a store that overwhelmingly sells wine. They usually also sell specialty beer too, and that's cool. But it's a store that focuses on this. The reason I'm splitting hairs a little bit here is because I got nothing against big grocery stores. I got nothing against Piggly Wiggly and Kroger and Costco, and I love it that so many more wines are available in so many more places. But your wine specialty shop is still your go-to. And I would find the closest 2, 3, or 4 that you can closest to you in your vicinity. Why would I say that? Am I anti-corporate, just pro-local? Well, yes, a little bit. But no, in the case of buying wine, you really want to get your local wine specialty shop because customer service. And if they have piss poor customer service from the get-go, don't ever go back. Most of them, the overwhelming majority of them, would focus on customer service. You want someone to talk to. The reason you're watching and taking this course right now is because you want an introduction to wine, because you want to chat about it more. You want to have questions that can be answered, and that is why you go to your local wine specialty shop. That's what they do. That's what they're there for. That's what every single person that owns and works at a wine specialty store is there for, is to answer questions. Period. I know you go back and say, no, they're there to sell wine. The only way they can sell that wine is answering questions. It's one of the few industries still left in America that really, I think, is 99% reliant on customer service. It's the way the old hardware stores used to be. You'd go to your local hardware stores because you have a question. I don't know. How do I put up this drywall? How do I do this? And there would be people there that could answer those questions for you and help sell you the materials and tools you needed. Well, now we have big chains of stores that just sell everything at, for a nickel less and have destroyed all the local hardware stores. And people go into those places and they have questions and they want that, talk to somebody. And if they can't get that, they go somewhere else. Have you noticed, by the way, that big hardware stores now offer classes and they try to have trained personnel to answer your questions? I know I'm digressing off of wine here, but it's the same deal. Go to the store that does that, because the local wine stores still kind of have the old school hardware store mentality of, no, if we can't answer questions for people, then we're of no value. Because, you can get wine now anywhere and probably cheaper. Well, it's cheap. You can be cheap or expensive and just about anywhere anymore. But you got to add that service. And honestly, I'm telling you, I'm begging you, find those local stores because they want to talk to you. They want to answer your questions. That's their bread and butter to help you be a more informed customer and a more informed wine drinker. They want you to find the wines you want. It's so amazing because I've worked in a small wine store and even bigger wine stores off and on for decades. And people walk in and the people are taking this class. I see you out there right now. People walk in, you can tell they want to ask a question. They're mulling around. They're overwhelmed by all the bottles and all the labels. They're not sure what they're doing, and they won't ask a question. If you're taking this class, promise me, please, always ask questions. Wine itself, I think, is the most social beverage on the planet, and it starts at the store where you purchase it or the winery. Go to any winery. They can't wait for you to ask questions. They want to tell you about their product. And wine store reps should be the same way. So, number one, you got to get to your local wine specialty shop and multiple. If you live in a big urban area, there's probably 5 within a few miles of you. You want to establish relationships with actual human beings who are working there. Get to know their names. I know it sounds bizarre to be talking about this in a wine class. Start talking to people because it benefits you in multiple ways. One is that once you establish a relationship with somebody at a wine store or somewhere else, but at a wine store, let's say, they can see your pattern of buying. You, through conversation, will tip them off to the styles you like or the regions you like or the grapes you like. And people remember that. Smart salespeople remember that. And they're like, oh, well, hey, when you walk through the door next time, they're like, hey, Bob, I know you. I know your palate. I just got these 3 things in you like. Boom! That's why you go to the wine specialty store. For the consultation, but also to form relationships so that you can get more attention and fine-tune your shopping experience. And that's not all. Because once you establish relationships, and you're a loyal customer, or even a semi-loyal customer, when people know you by name, they want to do you a favor, brothers and sisters. That's the old school way humans work. So when you walk to that wine store and they know your name, hey, Sally, good to have you back. Hey, we just got this stuff in. I have a bottle open. Would you like to try it? Boom, boom, free samples. And this perhaps is the biggest reason why I would tell people to go ahead and get to your local wine store and establish those relationships early and often. One, they'll know your palate. They'll know what you like. They can help you shop better. But local wine stores, almost all of them that I've ever seen, have wine tastings. Usually for the low price of free. And if it's not free, it's usually $1 or $2. And they usually do these things on a regular basis, on a weekly or bi-weekly. You can go in, if you are a smart wine drinker and you truly want to just expand your palate as rapidly as possible, you find the 5 closest wine specialty stores, find out all the days they do free tastings, and just for a month or 2 months or 3 months, go out of your way for every single free tasting and try every wine they have and take notes. You would be done. You would be at the point of being almost wine critic status by the end of that 3 months. That only happens at wine specialty stores. I know you should never say always or never or anything like that. Yes, increasingly bigger chain stores are starting to offer some sampling and maybe even some special other places will offer some sampling, but still the wine specialty store is where it happens at, and usually happens a lot. Most times you'll have a wine tasting at a store, even a small shop, they'll have at least 2 or 3 wines open a week, if not 5 or 6 open once or twice a week. So free tastings, free advice, they start to know your palate. And the last thing I want to add about why the wine specialty store, they usually give you special discounts. Again, once they know you, they're going to do you a favor. And most places will have what we call a case discount. Ask. Always ask. It never hurts to ask. Answers are free, even if the answer is no. And what's a case discount? Well, standard case of wine is 12 bottles. Most wine stores and even some now chains are offering a case discount. If you buy a whole box of wine, they'll give it to you for 5 or 10 or 15% off. And I know a lot of you are saying, well, I don't want to buy a whole case of that. I don't like that wine that much. Well, good, don't buy that wine. Most of them will allow you to do mixed cases, which means you can get 12 different bottles and you put them all into a box and they'll give you 10 or 15% off of all of them. You got to ask, though. And again, a good store wants to build its clientele. They are more than happy to give you 10% off and have you buy 12 bottles instead of one, because they know they're making you happy and they know you're going to come back. So they'll know your palate, answer questions. You can taste before you buy. They have free tastings. If you know them, they may open stuff for you to give you a special sniff. And they usually have special discounts. And of course, they have sales and stuff like that. That's why form your relationships at your local wine stores early and often and use them to the fullest. Okay. But I got nothing against chain stores. I'm saying this again for the second or third time. Because chain stores, and again, Costco, I think now is one of the biggest wine sellers in the country. I think I just read that somewhere. And Walmart selling wine. Astounding. You young people don't understand why this is crazy. Anybody as old as me agrees. They're like, whoa, the grocery stores didn't carry wine. Kmart didn't carry wine. Nobody carried wine 20 years ago. Everybody does now. And the chain stores, big box stores, while I don't typically shop at them too much, let's be honest, one of the reasons why they exist is because they have super low prices. And so I'm not against them. I'm not against you shopping for wine at any of these places because they have very good deals. And maybe they have case discounts too. You can probably get some really decent, cheap wines at these places. Maybe even some decent, cheaper, better wines. But again, here's the deal. They usually don't have a wine person on the spot to answer questions. So you lose some of that personal attention when shopping at the box stores. Again, however, times are changing fast. And I've now seen this as a trend that even Costco and these folks in grocery stores, big chains, are hiring wine consultants to try to be on the floor at certain times to be able to help those folks to coming in and buying wine. By the way, anybody that's older than 30, have you noticed how much bigger wine aisles are getting in grocery stores? They're huge now. There used to be a wine section like this big in your grocery store. Now it's a whole 100-foot aisle. And so they want to help their customers too. I'm not dissing the big boys. But they don't, again, pay as much attention to detail when it comes to wine because they have a whole other store of stuff to sell. So they'll have maybe one wine consultant, and of course that person is working other jobs in the store too and stocking the shelves. So they don't have as much time for every single customer. But here's the deal. If you want to go to the big box stores and shop for the cheapest prices, that's cool with me. Value is awesome. Find out when the wine consultant is working. Find out who the guy or gal is. Find out their name. Establish a relationship. Hey, when are you working again? When do you usually work? So when I come into Walmart or Costco, I want to come in at the times you're here so that if I have a question, I can ask it. See how that works? And then you ask them if there's a case discount. And then you've got a relationship that they can tell you about special deals that are coming in. Boom, boom. This is how it works. Okay. Now, whether you're at a small wine specialty store or a bigger store, there's kind of one or two ways of approach when buying a wine for that night or stocking up for the week or stocking up for 10 years, whatever it is you're up to. And I just made this stuff up, but I've seen this over the course of years helping customers. The first way that people come in and buy wine, and again, I'm telling you this because I'm suggesting it's a good way to do it. The first way that people come in to try to buy a wine is what I call the Flavor Flav approach. And that is when you go into a store and you're looking for something specific. You're looking for a wine. You're like, yeah, I want to drink a wine tonight, tomorrow, next week, whatever. Tell the customer service people what your Flavor Flav is. I like Merlots. I like big reds. I like light reds. I like fruity reds. I like light floral white wines. I like the wines of Burgundy. You got to give them information based on your palate, your Flavor Flav, especially if it's the first time going into the store. And because you're telling them, hey, here's what I like. Help me find the bottle that I want. And, I said it 3 times. That means it's important. Tell them a price range. I don't know why people are terrified. They think it's somehow some sort of sense of insignificance of themselves if they suggest that they only want to spend so much money. Oh, I'm cheap. If I tell them I only want a $10 bottle, they'll think I'm cheap. Who cares if they think you're cheap? And by the way, wine stores don't, because there's great valued wines from $5 to $15 anymore. Tons of them. So tell them, here's my Flavor Flav. Here's what I like. I like to spend about $10 on a bottle. You know what? I want to buy 3 bottles. I'm here to spend about 30 or 40 bucks. And I want 2 or 3 or 4 bottles. Help me out. Dudes, dudettes. That gets the person helping you, it narrows the field like that, and they can hone in and help you so much faster and so much better. They can get you so much better product. Because what they'll do is say, okay, you want to spend 40 bucks and you're looking for a couple bottles. Okay, cool. Here's a $10 bottle of this. And it's good. Here's a $30 bottle of this, and it's fantastic. There's your 2 bottles. See, it doesn't have to be a $20 bottle and a $20 bottle. They will help you determine that based on your Flavor Flav and your price range. That's the first way that you can go into a wine store looking for help to get the bottle you want for that night or for whenever. Second way is what I call the food approach. So the Flavor Flav is your palate. The food approach is often used when you want a wine for that day or that night. And that is, the food approach is, what's for supper? I already know the food I'm getting ready to eat. Somebody help a brother out. What goes with this dish? I've got this filet mignon that's peppered with green peppers and onions and a side of yam, potato, salad, whatever it is. You bring that to the table, pun intended. You bring that to the table in your wine store and say, I'm preparing this. What do you think? What do you think goes with that? And I'm increasingly seeing anymore. And by the way, that's fine. And give them the price range. Here's what I'm having. I'm having 2 or 3 or 4 guests for dinner. Here's the main dish. What would you suggest? Again, a quality wine store, and most of them will say like, oh, cool. That helps us help you so much faster. And how much money you want to spend? Got it. Here's the wines you need. I've increasingly seen this trend as well, and I love it. And that is people that come to the wine shop after shopping for groceries for the week and with their meal planner. And they say, okay, Monday's meatloaf, Tuesday is hot dogs, Wednesday is fish. I like a wine for every day this week. Here's what I'm thinking about. Here's the fresh stuff I just got at the market. I'm going to prepare this with it. Can you hook me up with 2 or 3 or 4 wines for this week to hold me over till next tasting day? That's genius. You know, it takes that much planning and that much consideration, but that's how you get quality wine and, again, form relationships with the local wine stores and the reps that are like, dude, these people know what they're talking about. We want to help them get the best wine that pairs with that stuff. By the way, so you can do the Flavor Flav approach by your palate of what you want just to drink straight up, or 2, the food approach. Here's what I want to pair with. The food approach is actually what you would do in a restaurant. It's the most fantastic way to order in a restaurant. And again, a lot of people are scared to do this in a restaurant. People go into a restaurant, a fancy one especially that has a big wine list, and they're daunted. They hand you a phone book, and people are like, I can't read a phone book. I'm just here to eat. Myself included. I'm a wine geeko, and I don't even look at the wine list. I'll order something light, I said aperitif, a little champagne, a little spritz, a nice light floral white wine while I mull over the rest of the menu. But if I'm going to order something serious, especially like a bottle, I'm not even going to bother till I do my food approach. What is it that me and my significant other across the table are going to be having for dinner? Because, again, wine is food, and wine pairs with food. So you've got to know the food first, especially in a restaurant, or if you're cooking at home and you know what you're cooking. That's the way to go. And tell the waiter or waitress, here's what I'm having. Could you ask the chef or the maitre d' or the wine specialist? I'm having this dish from your menu. What wines on your wine list do you think pair best with that? If the restaurant can't do that, it's time to get up and go to another restaurant. They would specialize in that. They would love to help you with that. But give them the price range too. Give them the price range too. There should be no embarrassment about this. Say, hey, look, I'm dropping like $100 on the meal. I ain't dropping $200 on the wine, all right? Here's what we're having. I'd like to spend about $40 or $50. People love hearing that. The more information you give them, the better they can help you out, whether in the wine store or in the restaurant. Okay, those are the main buyer tips when shopping in multiple places. But you know what? There's other places you can shop. Other wine stops that you should consider and build into your network are wine bars. This is a very European phenomenon that is exploding in America right now too. And again, these are bars that specialize in wine. I don't think they need much more definition than that. And some of these places are fantastico. I love going to wine bars because I can buy the glass, sit down and try 5 or 10 or 20 wines. Well, maybe not that many in one sitting, but I can try by the glass. That's so much funner than gambling on a bottle that's like 50 or 60 or $100. In fact, I rarely would buy wines that by the bottle cost 50, 60 or $100 unless I've already had a glass of them. Wine bars allow you to do that. By the way, even wine specialty stores aren't opening up $100 bottles. So that's why I wanted to include bars. Wine specialty stores and grocery stores, they may do samplings, but they're never really going to open up anything more than $20 or $25 as a general rule because they're going to lose money on it. And that's fine. I like that because that's the everyday drinking wines that you should be drinking anyway. You shouldn't be buying $50 bottles for daily use. $5 or $10 is daily drinking wine. That's fine. That's what those stores will specialize on. A wine bar, on the other hand, will also serve $10 bottles by the glass, but they can also serve a $100 bottle by the glass. And where else are you going to get a chance to try one of those? Not at my house, I can assure you. I can't afford a $100 bottle. I go to a wine bar and try a $5 or $6 or $10 glass of a $100 bottle. So when you want to build up your palate further and see what all the fuss is about more expensive wines, don't buy a bunch of bottles of the stuff, for goodness sakes. Go to a wine bar. People actually always ask me, oh, I'm going to Napa Valley, I'm going to California, I'm going to this place. What winery should I go to? And I'm like, don't go to a winery, go to San Francisco and go to a wine bar. You can sit in one place and try 50 different wines. That's way better than trying to go to 50 different wineries because then you're drinking and driving and that doesn't work, all right? So wine bars, a big European phenomenon taken over in America. And a lot of European wine bars are actually wine bars / wine shops. And that's the kind of growth market you're seeing in America too, is you could try by the glass, you could also buy it there. Most Italian, and I think most French kind of wine stores will typically have light plates of cheese or snacks that you buy, and then you can buy a glass or two of wine of multiple things they may have open every single day. And then it's a wine store that you then can go buy wines in as well. And I love that. It's kind of the best of all worlds right there. I'm not going to buy that $50 bottle. Oh, you have it open by the glass? Good. I'll sit here and have some cheese and crackers and try this $50 bottle, one glass at a time. Oh, I like that. Now I know. Let's go buy it. As much as possible, try to try the wine before you get too deep into buying it. That's why tastings are so awesome. It's not always possible. That's why you ask for help. It's like, oh, there's no tasting here. Okay, well, here's what I like. But whenever possible, try as many wines everywhere all the time. So wine bars, wineries themselves, I've referenced several times now. Every single state in the United States now has at least 2 wineries, and depending on where you are in the country, there are probably 5 or 10 or 20 within a couple hours drive of you. Yeah, go check them out. Again, those folks love to talk to you, answer questions about the process, the production, all about their product. It helps you get into it even more, and they will often offer case discounts too. By the way, if you're shopping overseas, and this is getting really deep for an intro level class, but if you ever find yourself in France, Italy, South Africa, Argentina, and you're like, dude, I had such a good time at this winery, and this wine was so good. Ask them. Say, hey, do you guys have case discount, and do you ship back to the United States? Many of them will. I'd say, oh, cool. I don't got to carry it. Ship it on back for me. And that brings me to the last. Online wine shopping. Don't diss that stuff yet. This is an exploding market right now. Boom! Big time. So many more wineries are going online. Wine shops are going online, just like the Vintage Cellar itself that I've been doing lectures from here. They're going online and offering their product. The wine, you can get wineries straight from the wine straight from the wineries, perhaps all across the planet. But also, of course, there's big retailers and now kind of wholesaling companies. And I don't even know what you call them, like packaging companies that just go out and buy lots of wine from other places and then put them together and have special deals to sell to you. These things are really good. I was a little leery at first, as were most of us with online shopping, because you're like, I got to get my credit card, I got to do all this. Dude, there are such phenomenal deals with online wine shopping. It is crazy. Just a few tips. And I'll throw out a few names here too, and I'm not getting any money from anybody, obviously. These are just ones that I know about, I've had experience with, and I know other people that have shopped. Wine Library, Fantastico, Gary Vaynerchuk and that whole crew, everything they touch is gold. Cinderella wine, it's all gold. So Wine Library have really good prices. Usually, I kind of consider them the Walmart of wine. They always want to say, hey, we have the lowest price of whatever it is you're looking for. And they will store wine for you over summer, maybe even over winter when it's not a good time to ship wine. Because one major tip for you to know, when you're shopping for wine online, you typically don't want to do a lot of purchasing in summertime. And really not in the deep winter time either. And that's because of the temperature thing. Remember back to our lectures on temperature? You don't want wild temperature fluctuations. And you buy a wine from someplace in the middle of July, and it's in upstate New York, and they're shipping it to you in California or Iowa, it at several points along its transit route to you will sit in a UPS truck or a warehouse somewhere that's probably 120 degrees. Not cool. And you can actually have what we call bottle shock in the wine that can screw it all up and it tastes terrible right when you open it. So, when possible, shopping online, don't do it in the depths of summer or winter. It's going to be too hot or too cold in transit. I thought about that because Wine Library will actually say, oh, well, we have this special deal in the summertime and we want you to buy this. And we'll store it for you. Free. Oh, we'll store it for you. You bought a case of this? That's cool. We'll keep it until temperature's a little bit better to ship it to you. Also, check out their daily deal site on Cinderella wine. And, of course, we have links popping up here right now, too. Woot Woot wine is awesome too. Woot wine is WOOT. Woot wine, you just got to be there on the spot. It's kind of like a live rotating auction all the time. And I tell you, man, there's been some stellar wine deals that have popped up on Woot wine out of nowhere. And I'm like, holy cow, that's a really good wine. Grab! Lot 18 is another one that has decent deals. And virtually all of these have free shipping. And if they don't, shop somewhere else. And again, it's the added bonus. It's like, well, I see they have the best wine price on that bottle, but then it's going to cost me like $30 to ship it. No, most of them have free shipping, especially if you become, a loyal customer. Shipping's free, so don't got to worry about that. Straight to your door. Don't even got to carry it from the wine store to your car, from your car to your house. They'll take it to your house all the way. One last one I'll throw out is called, I think it's kind of new, is Tasting Room. www.tastingroom.com. This place is crazy. They're mad out of their minds. I love this. They will mail you samples of the wine to try before you buy in volume. I love the 21st century. This is the power of the internet. I told you earlier, when in doubt, if you can at all times, try the wine before you buy it. And this place, tastingroom.com, is saying, yes, we agree. We'll mail you small samples of the wine so you can try it to see if you like it before you buy it. Crazy. Again, this is all growing. So you're likely to see another 1,000 of these companies crop up in the next 5 to 10 years with all kinds of great deals. And more stores means more competition, which means it's a good time to buy for the consumer. And speaking of getting more information, Wine Berserkers is a great forum, an online forum website to see what other people are buying. And what vineyards they're visiting, and Wine 101. They have wine lessons. They're probably way better than this. So it's a great forum for lots of activities to see what's going on and chat with other people. And again, wine, it's all about the social. It's all about the interaction. It's all about talking to people. Oh, what's that wine you had from over there? Cool. What it tastes like? Good. I love that wine too. I love wine styles just like that. That's where you find out where the real awesome stuff is, where the real good deals is. It's all kind of word of mouth. And there's so much out there. You just aren't going to know about it just by kind of walking into a random store and not knowing anybody there and not checking stuff online and not interacting. You're simply shopping by how pretty the label is unless you're being informed with all that information that's out there, which many people do. Many people still just walk into their local grocery store and say, oh, what a pretty label. That's pretty. And then you get home and you're like, see, this is why I don't like wine, because I don't like this wine. Well, of course. You don't even know what's in the bottle. You haven't talked to anybody about it. Of course you don't like that wine. So don't be that person. One disclaimer. Check your local listings because when it comes to online shopping, every state now has different laws. There's no kind of national consensus on this. So some states outlaw online shopping for alcohol. Some don't care. Some make it a misdemeanor, which means nobody enforces it. Nobody cares. So, of course, check that out before you get too hyped up and excited about shopping online. When you go to a wine site, one of the first things you should do is say, hey, where do you ship to Kentucky? Because the answer is no, by the way, if you're from Kentucky. Do you ship to Texas? So find that out first before you get too entrenched in the shopping process. You don't necessarily want to be breaking any laws, but it's not even so much that. It's that they won't break laws. So you could go through a whole process of shopping for wine for 2 hours and then click the submit your credit card button. Oh, you're from Iowa. Yeah, we can't ship to you. So do check out your local listings on that. All of these places now discussed are awesome for stocking your personal shelves, and that's what this talks about. Be it for the day, for that night, for the whole week, you've got your daily planner out, or for the month, or for years and years to come. Now, again, this is an intro wine course, so I'm not going to get too much into this, but I figured I'd wrap this lecture up with buying for aging. Because one of the other last tips I do want to give you, even as an intro drinker, and you're not going to believe me yet, but you will as you get more into it, do not be afraid to buy in volume. In fact, you should go out of your way to buy in volume. Ask about the case discount. Get cases of wine. It's cheaper. And if it is something that is good, you're going to want more of it eventually. So don't be afraid to buy in bulk. Again, a lot of first-time consumers are like, I'll buy one bottle and I'll try it. And then they come back a month later after they finally tried the bottle and like, can I get this again? No, that's gone now. So there are several reasons to buy in bulk. One, we've already pointed out, you usually get a case discount. You get a better deal if you buy a lot of it. Two, when you find something you really, really, really like, grab it. Because every vintage year is different. That same wine may taste different next year and you might not like it. And it may get really popular and all of the stores sell out of it. Or they may stop distributing to that certain grocery store or that certain wine store. Wine's labels, there's so many of them now, they rotate so quickly through even wine specialty shops that if you find something you really, really, really like, you better go ahead and grab a case of it. It may not be there next week. It may not be there and you may never see it again. So go ahead and grab if you like it. And finally, some wines actually are made for long-term storage. And those are ones you want to buy in bulk because that's actually how you know when it's time to drink them. What do I mean by that? Come in closer. Let me tell you a little story about aging wine. There are not many wines that are actually built to last, let's say. Most wines are made to be consumed fairly young, fairly soon after their production. Whites, again, most of them are ready to go. The year after they've been plucked off the vine and made into wine, you can put them in the bottle and go and drink them when they're fresh and young. That actually is the same story for most reds. Maybe they'll sit around for a couple years and mature for a little bit. Maybe they'll be in an oak barrel for a year or two, but then they're going to go onto the shelf and they're good to go. But there are those wines, and they're small, 5 or 10%, that really need to be aged for 5, 6, 10, 15 years. I believe I told you this mythology earlier in an earlier lecture that there's this common misperception that all wines get better with age. Nonsense. 90% of them are good to go now. But there is that 5 or 10%. And the reason you would age them is because they're so big or so tannic or so this or so that they're not that good right when they're young. They need to evolve. They need to hang out. They need to integrate, and that takes time. And when you allow time in certain bottles, you will get flavors that you simply cannot get any other way. You can't manufacture them on the spot. It simply is a matter that age does bring betterness in these particular wines. So, and by the way, just side note, for those of you that get into this in a very big way later, you're looking at really big reds typically. Some white wines can age for a serious time, but mostly we're talking about big, bold reds, big Bordeaux's, big Tuscan wines, Barolos, gigantic California Cabs or Zins. These are so huge when they're young that they can last a long time and then express huge flavors later that aren't there when they're young. How do you know? How do you know when it's time to drink them though? How do you know when those flavors have gotten there? Well, that's why you buy in bulk. Say you buy a case of California Cabernet Sauvignon, and year one, you taste it in the wine store and you're like, whoo, too much. Can't do that. Probably needs to lay down for a little while. Indeed, it probably does. So maybe take a case of it, and this is why you would buy in volume. You buy a case of it. Put it in your cellar, your basement, wherever. 5 years later, you pull out one bottle. Pull out the cork, you try it. What do you think? Is it good? Is it still too much? Is it still too expressive? Hey, this is, it's softer, but it needs more time. Okay. Let the other 11 bottles sit in your basement for another few years. Go down a few years later, pull up another one. Do your sensory evaluation again. How is it now? All right, it's even better. Oh, I like it now. Now it's being expressive. Now it's softer. It's more supple. I get more flavor. I like it, but it could be better. Okay. Wait till next year. Go down next year and pull up another bottle. You keep doing that process of assessment on your case of California Cab until you get to a year that when you pull the cork, you're like, this is phenomenal. This is the greatest wine I've ever had. When you reach that point, drink it all. You've crossed over you've peaked the bell curve and you don't want it to go downhill, drink it all. Because it eventually will go downhill. If you leave it there for another 100 years, it may suck. So that is why you buy in bulk for particular wines, particular big reds, Bordeaux, Rhones, Barolos, California, Australia, big reds. Does that make sense? Okay, but again, that's getting specialized once you really get into wine and you're ready for that kind of long-term storage to start experimenting with things like that. Otherwise, just go get a glass of it at your local wine bar and pay $10 a glass, but it's a lot cheaper than buying a case and storing it. The other reason you would buy a case in that circumstance is if you're going to hold on to a Rhone red, a Chateauneuf de Pape for 10 or 15 years. 10 years later, you have a case of that stuff. You can't buy that in stores. It's gone. And you go to a restaurant and try to buy that 10-year-old Chateauneuf de Pape, you paid $20 a bottle for it 10 years ago. In the restaurant, they're asking $200 a bottle. Yeah, that's how it goes. And you have a case of that at your house. It may not be that great, but that's the way that it works. You got to have it. You got to be in it to win it. And so that's why you buy in bulk for particular wines that may age out. But again, I'm suggesting you buy in bulk even for your weekly and monthly operations of your household cellar because it's way cheaper. It's way better. And you find a wine you like, grab it and go for it. All right? Good. This is going on way too long, but that's okay. You could always press pause at any given point and go get another bottle of wine, start sipping. But for now, that's it on the shopping for wine. So get out there and start stocking your shelves.